Hello, everyone, and welcome to Friendly Differences 2.0. I am Solid Blue Sister, and this is
The Dread Empath. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We hope that you guys had a safe and beautiful Labor Day weekend. We are back with thought-provoking topics and discussions.
and this one is about law enforcement, how they don't deal with mental illness. And I don't know, Dre, you want to start off with the video, or what do you want to do?
I think we should show them the video.
Okay,
Law enforcement and how they don't deal well with people who suffer from mental illness in this country.
okay, all
Without
right.
further
So
ado.
here we go. See if I can get this. Hold on. Y'all, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, y'all. Hold on, y'all. All right. Nope, we don't want Kenny Rogers. I'm sorry about that. All right.
In the death of a man at a mental health facility in Virginia. 3 hospital employees and 7 sheriff's deputies are facing criminal charges. And tonight, his family is speaking out. ABC's Alex Stone has their story.
Ivo Otieno had a history of struggles with mental health. His family says he was experiencing mental distress before an encounter with law enforcement that later led to him being admitted to a psychiatric hospital in Virginia. Now 3 hospital employees and 7 sheriff's deputies are accused of murdering Otieno. The incident was caught on yet-to-be-released surveillance video that has been seen by his family.
My son was treated like a dog, worse than a dog. I saw it with my own eyes on the video.
The video is said to show Otieno handcuffed and shackled, being pinned to the ground. All 10 suspects are charged with second-degree murder. The 7 sheriff's deputies and hospital staff are accused of holding Otieno down for 12 minutes in handcuffs and leg irons. Prosecutors described the video in court.
They smothered him to death. It's just cruel.
A preliminary cause of death has been determined to have been suffocation, and there are allegations of a cover-up. Deputies allegedly washed handcuffs used to keep Otieno under control. According to prosecutors, those deputies did not call state police for 3.5 hours as his body was in the hospital. And when hospital staff called 911, prosecutors say they claimed it was cardiac arrest.
He was in the cell alone, not posing a danger to anyone.
A lawyer for one of the sheriff's deputies spoke in court on Wednesday, saying the officer allegedly did not administer any blows to the deceased or violence towards him, other than simply trying to restrain him. And another attorney said his client has served honorably. Prosecutors in Virginia say additional charges and arrests could be coming. Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Okay, y'all, we gonna get it. The videos right. We are gonna correct that. We gonna get it where it's gonna
Right.
be smooth. Hold on. Hold on. We gonna get that where that's gonna be smooth and what have you. So we gonna get it. But Dred, I for one, I'm gonna address the family first. While I feel for their loss, I think that families need to stop calling the police when there is a mental health episode with their family members. Because I think that as soon as you pick up the phone and the police are called, it escalates to the next level. It doesn't de-escalate, it automatically goes to that next level. And the police just are not equipped, and they're too ready, they're too trigger happy. They're just ready to, I mean, if you just say boo or you sneeze, they're ready to shoot you. So for the families, have to say, stop calling the police. Is there a social worker you can call? Is there a neighbor you can call? Can you guys talk them down? Can you just let it just run its course? But stop calling the police.
Okay. A lot of people don't notice, but I am a trained EMT. We are now, you have your basic EMTs and you have your advanced EMTs. Now, even at a basic level, we are trained to handle mental illness calls. Okay? We are instructed to call law enforcement when the mental health patient becomes volatile or dangerous. Now, for any of our people watching, let's describe some. We have schizophrenia, delusions, hallucinations, disorganized thoughts, major depressive disorder, episodes of psychological depression, bipolar disorder, extreme mood swings, either extreme excitement or extreme depression, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, a disorder where a traumatic event is characterized by intrusive thoughts, recurring stress, and anxiety, borderline personality, instability in mood and behavior, anxiety, it's an acute onset of fear, worry, restlessness, all of these things. Every last one of these things that I've put down could make someone erratic. They can make them dangerous, a danger to themselves, a danger to their family, a danger to, EMS personnel. So let's just say we have a war veteran, somebody who just came back from war, and they have firearms. We as EMTs are not trained to deal with someone with a firearm. So we now have to call law enforcement. So it kind of becomes a catch-22. It becomes a double-edged sword. We are there to help them, but the very first thing that we are taught as EMTs is scene safety. We want to go home as well. So
okay, so
maybe it's a matter of law enforcement being trained properly to deal with mental health.
I do believe that law enforcement, that they are not trained to deal with them properly. And I also think that a lot of law enforcement, I really don't think they give a damn. I truly don't. But having said that, and having some law enforcement people get pissed off at me, it's not the first time.
That's right.
So what about this? Since they like to tase people so much, what if law enforcement and even EMTs, can you all, like, and I'm going to say EMTs first before you call law enforcement. Can you carry some type of, I don't know which other way to say it, except for like a dart gun or something to try to...
No. We are prohibited from carrying weapons on scene.
So something like a dart gun would be considered a weapon.
Yes. We are not to carry any weapons of any kind. If you find they train us, the minute your scene becomes unsafe, you move away from that scene and you call law enforcement. I'll give you an example. We find someone on a porch with a gunshot wound. The first thing we're doing is looking around. If we see someone coming towards us, like, get the fuck away from them, we immediately have to remove ourselves and call law enforcement. So
so then
not carry weapons.
Okay, so then I go to law enforcement. Then can they carry some kind of, Well, see, I back away from that because Elijah McClain was murdered by the police because they gave him too much. I forget the name of that drug, but and what's disheartening about Elijah McClain is he died in October of 2019 while he was wearing, somebody said that he was, who's this guy walking with this mask? And here we are a month later, 2 months later, we're all walking around in masks. But they said that he was having this episode, and the police and the paramedics, but it was mainly the police who injected him too much. So I don't know. At some point, I'm like, do we just say they're having an episode and just let it run its course and just let them do what they're going to do and that's it? Because too many people who are having mental health episodes are dying at the hands of the police. And I think and it is about the police not being trained, whatever. But again, I just think that even if they were trained, they don't give a damn. I truly don't. I truly don't think they
we
care.
also we also have to if we're going to talk about mental illness in law enforcement, we also have to talk about the fact that many law enforcement officers suffer from mental illness because a lot of them
Absolutely,
are veterans and they're suffering from PTSD. So that's why
absolutely.
some of them have that shoot first and ask questions later mentality as
Okay,
well.
so then should we start screening law enforcement that if you've been in the military, you can, unless you go through some serious psychological training or psychological background, whatever. I'm not talking about you go here to this class, you take, okay, you pass, you came every day. I'm talking about you go through some serious psychological testing or whatever. You are not allowed to be a law enforcement officer.
Let me put this in your head. And I'm going to give you an example of how little law enforcement is trained in this country. Okay. I began going to my EMT class in March. We were not allowed to leave until August. We had to pass a final, you have to pass a practical, and you have to pass a written. And all of that if you don't, you have 6 times to pass that practical. You don't pass that practical, you don't take the written. And guess what? You have to take that class over again. It takes 2 years to go to cosmetology. They are putting warm bodies out on the street. And do you really think that they're going to tell someone who served this country, you cannot be a police officer? No, veterans get first dibs in this country. And then you have police
Okay,
officers.
but I'm sorry, but if you are coming back with PTSD and you have some issues and you're trigger happy, I'm sorry. You serve the country, thank you, but you then become a danger to the
Solid,
citizens of this country.
People lie. People can beat
Oh yeah,
that. People can beat that psychological.
that's why I'm saying the testing that we do here in the United States for a lot of stuff is such bullshit that it's just it's ridiculous. I mean, I'm not just talking about for law enforcement. I'm talking about for a whole bunch of things, even for
Okay, check this out.
you know. So
You do understand that to become a police officer, you have to have one or the other. You either have to have 60 college credits, and if you don't have 60 college credits, if you served in the military, those 60 college credits are null and void. Now, me personally, I have a degree in criminal justice, but somebody who's a veteran will become a police officer faster than me because they are trained in combat. They know how to handle a weapon, so on and so forth. These are not people who are capable right now of handling mental illness. And if we're going to be candid, we have to be candid. People are afraid of people with mental illness because what do we hear? We hear about the crazy schizophrenic guy who pushed someone off of a train platform, or somebody who's running around talking to Elvis in his head. We have a very, very predisposed negative notion about people with mental illness. Everyone thinks that because someone has mental illness, that they are a danger to them, when in fact, it's quite the contrary. People with mental illness are more likely to have a crime committed against them, and that includes law enforcement. They are more likely to be assaulted, sexually assaulted, raped, and murdered. Why? Because the first thing you have to say, they have a documented case of mental illness. Boom. Nobody wants to listen to them. But I took the liberty of doing a little research, right? Now, 13 cities back in 2021, they pushed to minimize law enforcement involvement on police calls. These 13 cities were Albuquerque, Albany, Austin, Birmingham, St. Paul, Minnesota, Providence, Louisville, Boston, Chicago, Phoenix, San Antonio, Seattle, and the advocacy groups did not identify one of the cities. So 13 cities decided, we're going to send a crisis team. We're going to send someone, it's called the Crisis Intervention Team, co-responder programs, because they see that there is a problem. But this is my issue. These are the same people we give guns. We give these people guns. So they should be trained. They should be trained in how to deal with mental illness. You get someone who has schizophrenia. Now, there are so many levels of schizophrenia. Some schizophrenics who are taking their medicine, they're fine. But you get someone who's been off their meds and they think that you're trying to do them harm. You make a sudden movement and they're on top of you, or they have a sharp object.
Okay, but Drez, but do you, the police officer, do you have to pull that gun with those bullets? Can't you pull something else? I guess that's where I'm coming down to. Can't you do something else as opposed to pulling that gun? And from some of the videos that I've watched this past week, some which you've sent me, it's like, we're not talking about they're shooting one time. We're talking bang, 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 from all directions. This person doesn't even have a chance. So, sorry,
I'm not trying to play devil's advocate.
I mean,
you have to own a firearm to understand how a semi-automatic weapon goes.
Yeah.
Certain guns, once you start pulling, that trigger gets very slippery.
And I understand that. I am a gun owner. I'm a responsible gun owner, whatever. But I'm just saying that I understand that depending upon the weapon that you're firing, the bullets and how it's going to react, whatever. But again, knowing that this person who is in front of you is not all there, knowing that they could pull out a gun, whatever. But I'm just saying that something has to be done, because too many incidents of people dying at the hands of law enforcement who are having a mental episode. I mean, just like that guy a couple years ago, he's running down the street nude, whatever, and they shoot him. I mean, only threat that he was running around naked. Right. So it's like, again, that right there, what threat was he? With the exception of running around, what threat was he? He was not a physical threat to anyone where someone could have died.
Police officers are taught de-escalation.
Well, they don't do it very well.
And sometimes, and I was just getting to that. You know what? A lot of times, they don't know how to de-escalate with someone who's in their right mind.
I mean, they can't de-escalate a simple traffic stop where you're giving somebody a ticket for running a stop sign and that turns deadly. So how do we? So how do you expect them to?
So we now have to talk about police reform. We now have to talk about the police academy being 2 years instead of 6 months, because once again, you have to go to cosmetology school. Come on, think about that. You have to learn for 2 years. You have to learn how to cut somebody's hair. It takes 2 years. But you're giving someone a gun, a lethal weapon. 6 months. You run some laps. We test your physical stamina. Yeah, we're gonna send you for some psychological evaluation, and now we're gonna put you on the street. I know a few police officers that I went to school with. They should not have a gun. They should not be in charge of deciding whether or not someone gets locked up or goes free. I went to school with these people. I encountered these people as an adult. They should not have a gun. But again, you'd be surprised what they allow in the police academy to slip through.
I'm not surprised, because you see it every day when it's on the streets. What do you think about what Sabrina said? We truly do not need police departments anymore, in my opinion. What do you think about that?
Okay. As a black woman, and I don't mind putting myself out here as a black woman who has been diagnosed as having depression, suicidal thoughts, what have you. I'm not a danger to the police, but I know that the police are a danger to me.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is not equipped to pull that trigger if somebody comes in their home to do them harm.
Mhm.
I am. How you come ain't how you gonna leave. I do not believe that we have to do away with police departments. I believe that the police need to be reformed. I believe that police need to have extensive training, and they really need to start digging into backgrounds, because we have way too many white supremacists,
Yeah.
homophobes, everything on the police force. And unfortunately, again, some of those police officers suffer from mental illness.
Well, see, if you're going to reform the police, to me, that means that when you start digging into the backgrounds, we're talking about, I don't care if you've been on the force for 20 years, if we dig into your background and we're finding some stuff, whoop, no, sorry, you are gone. Because
I agree.
it's almost like just fire everyone and then start over, because because what we have now just isn't working. And people can say, yes, so if something happens to you, you're going to be the first one to call 911, whatever. But at the same time, I want, police officers, they're not to serve and protect. And are all police officers bad? No. But the ones that turn their back and just ignore the other stuff that their counterparts are doing, you're just as bad, because you're allowing it to happen. And you want to know why a lot of, people don't like you. Well, this is the reason why. So, it's just that, and then when it comes to mental illness, I mean, some of the things that when I was doing the background for this show, whatever, some of the videos that I saw were, I couldn't watch them. I had to turn them off. And just some of the things, when I got to Elijah McClain and the fact that these police officers were making fun of what they did to this boy, and they're laughing. Yes, they were fired. Why weren't they put in jail? It is disgusting. But yet you want to know why we don't like you. However, I have had some interactions with some cops where I've had to talk to them. They were very nice. They weren't rude or anything. And I even said to them, thank you for being pleasant. And they were like, you're welcome. Thank you for saying that. But
Okay. In my life, I have taken the law enforcement exam twice. Once to be a police officer, once to be a corrections officer. I refused to be a police officer because they wanted me to cut off my locks. This was about 15 years ago in New Jersey. They wanted me to cut off my locks. Locks, at the time, I'm not sure what it is now, were forbidden in the state of New Jersey. It was listed as a fad. But one thing I did learn when I was talking to police officers and everything else, you just said they don't tell on each other. Guess what? A lot of those police officers have served in the military. So guess what? The military is one group, the police officers are another group, and that blue wall of silence is the strongest bond there is. And breaking that silence could be deadly for a police officer.
But you know what though? But at the same time, and I understand that. But put like this. You know how they always say, treat people how you want to be treated. So I say to those police officers that while you're beating the hell out of somebody, and you're laughing and you're taking photos and stuff. So does that mean your children or your wife or your husband or your mother and father, we can beat the hell out of them and take photos and laugh? Oh, but it's not funny then, is it?
No, because the families of those police officers fall under that umbrella.
I'm just saying. So when I'm just saying. So when your child comes home from school because they got their butt whooped, whatever, just think about the butt that you just whooped over somebody that didn't do anything, but you just did it for fun, and now your child is at school getting their butt whooped by that bully who's doing it for fun. But it's not funny then, is it?
It's not. And you know what? I feel like, again, mental illness. See, A lot of these police officers don't know how to deal with mental illness on the street because they're not dealing with mental illness right up here. See, a lot of things are hidden with law enforcement.
I know.
Law enforcement, you just talked about while they're beating the hell out of civilians and mental health issues. You have law enforcement officers who have beat the shit out of their wives and their children, and no one says a thing. That wife files a report. That report goes in the trash. They're not dealing with the mental health issues in their own home, so they don't know how to deal with it out there. It's embarrassing. And that's the problem. Mental illness has become embarrassing. Remember, back in the day, we used to be able to say the R word, retarded. You can't say that now. But when you had a family member that was special needs, what happened? You put them in a back room. Nobody knew they existed for years. Now, it's a different time. You can't use the R word. Now, we have more autistic children on the spectrum. And that's something that, if anything, they need to learn about. What happens when you have an autistic child or autistic teen that wanders away from home? We're asking law enforcement to issue a BOLO, be on the lookout for this autistic person who's nonverbal. So you approach them and they're scared and they're hungry. What are you going to do? Are you going to tackle them to the ground?
Most police officers would. Most police officers would tackle them to the ground.
So that's why I say there needs to be a reform. Yeah, they need to start looking into certain things. If this police officer has had misconduct charges for excessive force and brutality, get his ass out of there. Because guess what? He's causing more trauma. He's causing someone to have PTSD.
So, what do you think about what Marlon just said? How question: how do the good police officers go about speaking out about the wrongdoings?
I really don't know. I really don't know. Because again, you get someone who's been on the force since the age of 21, and they're 38 now. They've been on the force 17 years. They don't know anything else. Where are they going? Where? Once you are labeled a snitch in law enforcement, you're blackballed. You can't go anywhere. It follows you. And unfortunately, that's the reality. There was a police officer. He was an officer of SWAT. He was a SWAT officer. And he reported a few of his co-workers for brutality and for, killing someone unfairly. He said that he was going up the stairs to serve a warrant. He looked behind him and he was all alone. He called for backup. Nobody was on the radio. That's how deep it is.
Well, that's like, what was that movie from the 70s? Serpico?
I don't know nothing about that.
Very, very, very good movie. I mean, he was a narcotics officer, start pushing back on bad cops and, the things that they did to him. In fact, I think Al Pacino was in that movie, but it was a very good movie. He's a well-known officer for going up against the New York. But I'm just saying, and then coming from Chicago and just the corruption that's in the Chicago police force. I mean, I don't know if there needs to be an anonymous tip line or something, but the good cops, the so-called good cops, know who the bad cops are. And to the bad cops, I just say, be it mental illness or y'all just want to go out and just beat somebody's ass because you all feel like it. I believe in karma.
I absolutely believe in karma, but karma is not going to bring anybody back.
No.
And see, one thing we have to understand, if we're going to talk about police officers, we have to talk about corrections officers as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, because they're all into the same thing.
Part of law enforcement.
And before we get into that, what Marlon said, what does a true police reform look like? Just a question.
Okay. A true police reform, to me. Now, before anybody gets their panties in a bunch. You being a veteran should not mean that you get first dibs on being a police officer. Because you being a veteran means that you are more likely to suffer from PTSD, especially if you have been deployed in a war. So that should not automatically get you a free pass to become a police officer. Police reform looks like extensive psychological evaluations from psychiatrists and psychologists alike. Police reform looks like every 3 to 6 months you go to a psychologist, before you think about eating your gun, before you think about beating the hell out of someone. Police reform looks like if you have too many cases of brutality against you, that means that you have a bit of an anger issue, an anger management issue. That means that you need to be put on probation or suspension until you can get your temper under control.
Well, not only that, you also have police officers have a high rate of domestic violence just within their own
absolutely.
home. You know, so that right there should also tell you. I mean, and I wonder how many wives are afraid of their husbands, or how many husbands are afraid of their wives who are police officers.
There are quite a few.
So when you can bring in the mental health part of it, you know, they're probably just freaking out because they see a uniform. You know,
Absolutely.
So that right there, I mean, so again, as soon as, to me, I don't care what it is, if it's a traffic stop or whatever, but when it comes to people who are having episodes, as soon as you call law enforcement, the situation goes from here to here. And then it progressively gets worse and worse and worse because police officers do not know how to de-escalate. They escalate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But again, nothing changes if we, the people, don't change.
True.
You see, we have people in this country that no matter what those boys in blue do, they will defend them to a T. Who was that country ass politician? Next time you have a problem, don't call the police, call a crackhead. Like, dude, seriously? Because you know what? I'm not even going to hold you. Black people, we think twice before calling the police.
Yep.
We think twice. And I am with you that when it comes to someone who is, see, mental illness has no color. Mental illness has no color, has no culture, mental illness is about being a prisoner of your mind. And nobody should lose their life because they're a prisoner of their mind or because they can't get their meds. Hell, mental illness can come about from malnourishment. Jordan Neely, right? Just got choked to death. And that wasn't even law enforcement. But because he was a what? What was he? A veteran, right? They all want to give him a pass. He wasn't suffering from PTSD. He was just an asshole. But imagine if he was a cop. He wouldn't have even seen charges. Wait, right. They let him go home after he choked somebody to death for 10 minutes. The young man we just saw, they were suffocating him for 12 minutes. Now, law enforcement aside, they don't get a pass. But those people within that mental health institution, how? How did y'all allow this man to get suffocated for now? Let me tell you this. Someone who is suffering from mental illness, I don't know where they get that superhuman strength. I have been punched by somebody with mental illness, and let me tell you, I saw stars. I don't know where they get their strength from. So it can take some time to subdue them. And we don't know sometimes if they're having psychosis brought on by drug use as well. You see all of these things that we stigmatize that can all be tied into mental illness,
health,
malnourishment, drug abuse, alcoholism. All of these things can cause delusion. And it's stigmatized. It's criminalized. And then everybody's sorry or wants to cover it up.
Okay, but again, if you're going to stigmatize, you need to stigmatize your police force, because everything that you just said is going on within the police department. They're on drugs. They have PTSD.
They
I
do.
mean, they're beating up their husbands, wives, kids, whatever. I mean, all this stuff that they're doing this stuff. So, I mean, to me, for a cop to hear that another cop is beating up on his wife or his children, and you turn, oh well, or you gonna pull the little lady to the side and talk to her and whatever. I say that's bullshit, because when the police officer kills that person or seriously hurts them, are you giving them I mean, seriously. But yet, if you were to go to another home when someone was doing this, you're ready to take the guy out and arrest him and stuff like that. So why does your police officer colleague get a pass? Because he's wearing blue?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I'm going to go there. I'm going to throw in a little bit of January 6th here too. So all y'all folks who were, storming and rioting on January 6th, who were beating the hell out of cops, did you care about your boys in blue then? Your police officers that also showed up and showed out and were beating up people? Did you care about your boys in blue then? I'm just asking a question. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
That's right. Brian Slicknick is the name of the police officer that got hit in his head with a fire extinguisher and died 3 days later.
Well, you also have a lot of other officers that went through some trauma.
Oh yeah.
But again, it's like, so I don't want to hear back the blue anymore until y'all tell me why y'all weren't back in the blue and y'all were beating the shit out of those guys on January 6th. You answer me that. So they want to know about, and yes, I'm going here too. Y'all always want to know about black on black crime. Well, I'm asking this. You answer that question for me. You all always want to know from us about black on. Now you answer that question for me. So you tell me why you beating up other cops. And maybe I can come back with a black on black answer for you.
Mr. Campbell just asked if someone
Hello,
killed your mother,
Lloyd?
would you call the police? I wouldn't want to, but yeah.
I'm sorry. What was the question? Oh, okay, here it is.
If someone killed your mother, would you call the police? Yeah, I mean, I don't have much of a choice. Somebody has to come and back her up.
I mean, right, but at the same time, am I going to go look for that person? Yeah. I mean, there are certain things that we have to do, but again, it's a double-edged sword. It is a double-edged sword.
But as far as mental illness goes, it's so hard to.
Yeah,
to even
I
talk about
did answer the question. I said, yeah, I have to, but I still go looking for those people. It's a double-edged sword.
When we talk about mental illness, see, as I was saying, we have to talk about the corrections officers as well, because a lot of times they try to use prisons and jails as dumping grounds for the mentally ill.
Well, they've always done that. That goes back to before the United States even began. It's like over in the UK, if you were mentally ill, remember Newgate Prison? I mean, when you were mentally ill, you were sent to prison, and that's where the term the madhouse came from. All the people with mental illnesses were sent to the madhouse, and they were just dumped there, and their families left them. And I mean, that's what it was. They don't care.
No, Mr. Campbell, Sandra Bland, Philando Castile, and Eric Garner didn't have mental illness. They were just black.
Yeah.
They were just black. But that is not the topic. We are talking about mental illness. And mental illness has no color.
Yeah, but
Now we could go. We could go there about how they deal with black people with mental illness versus white people, but we're not gonna do that.
well, in all fairness, I did go there too. So anyway,
You certainly did. You did.
so I'm sorry. I'm sorry, y'all.
I'm trying to
Sometimes,
be.
sometimes I fall off the wagon, and Dress has to get me back up like she did
I'm
last year. She
trying
was
to be
like,
the politically
yeah,
correct
she
millennial,
is,
but
she is, she is. Because y'all
but
remember
we're
that
not
last show
going
when
to
she told me
deny
to
the obvious.
focus. Yeah.
We're not going to deny the obvious. Is bottom line. When someone suffers from mental illness, they are more likely to face crimes of a myriad of crimes, and it doesn't matter their color, because a woman with mental illness is more likely to be sexually assaulted than a man with mental illness, and it doesn't matter what her color is. But a man with mental illness is probably more likely to be tased or gunned down versus a woman with mental illness. So there's a lot of moving parts to this machine. You know what I mean?
So
Corrections
so
officers, they don't get a pass either. They do some wild shit behind those walls,
oh yeah,
especially
oh
when
yeah.
you're talking about. First of all, what do I have here? There is an overrepresentation in jails and prison. Okay, 16 to 24%. 2 in 5 people who are incarcerated have a history of mental illness. Now, you having a history of mental illness does not necessarily mean that you currently suffer from mental illness. If you've been diagnosed with major depressive disorder, but you're no longer depressed, you're off medicine and you're living a healthy lifestyle, you have a history. But also, it could mean that you are still suffering from mental illness. Now, you get someone behind prison walls or jail who is schizophrenic, bipolar, those two right there. The minute those people say, oh, yeah, they were schizophrenic, what's the first thing we say when we don't believe something that someone says? They're crazy. Kanye, right? He's crazy.
See,
Nobody listens to the crazy.
I'm trying to stay focused. Don't get me on Kanye. I'm trying to stay focused here. Don't get me on Kanye.
Let me sip this detox tea.
Okay, so then, Dres, do you believe, and people in the chat, y'all let me know what y'all think too. Do you believe that, number one, there should be, every police department should have a squad or group or force or whatever, that when there's a mental illness episode, that those officers are the ones that go out as opposed to your regular ones? And in terms of prisons, do you believe that people with mental health issues, they're housed in the same place and have people who are specialized, who are trained to deal with them, deal with those incarcerated people in that particular section?
Oh, they absolutely. Oh, I do a lot of studying. They do have There's a section for everybody in prison. You have the LGBTQIA plus section, because they're more likely to suffer from abuse, rape, so on and so forth. And also, when someone is diagnosed as having a mental illness, they will separate them from Gen Pop, because then they will be subject to violent crimes, assault, rape, murder, so on and so forth. And the reason why there is an overrepresentation of mental illness in jails and prison is because a lot of time inmates will pretend to be, just so they can get to protective custody, to get away from Gen Pop. So there are specialized places in prison. It could be called the whole, ADSEG, whatever. But I do agree. When you think about the police, we have, what do we have? We have vice, we have homicide, special victims. We have every single thing. We even have specialized teams for cyber crimes. Why not have a specialized group of police officers who have had extensive training in how to deal with the mentally ill without killing these people? I agree.
Okay, but okay. Now I'm reading what Lloyd said, education, when he says have trained people go out with them. Then I'm reading what Marlon said. Training is key in everything. Only problem I have with that is every time something happens, whether it be in law enforcement or a teacher at school, the first thing they want to say is, "Well, we need to go back to training. We need to go
Right.
back to training." Training don't seem to work. Training does not seem to work. I mean, so because the bottom line is we are still human, and if you get someone that's racist, if you get a teacher that just doesn't like this particular student for whatever reason, you can have all the training you want to, because it comes down to if they don't like you or they want to do something,
They don't
training
like
is going to right. So, and so again, I understand with the training thing, but again, first thing we say is training, 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 and they go back to training, and training don't do diggly squat.
Squat.
So I mean, I'm just saying. So
I think that where I understand where some of our listeners are coming from. I want you to put this in your head. If we abolished all law enforcement today or tomorrow, fire them nationwide, there is not a police officer in a uniform in a police department. Could you imagine the anarchy and the chaos that would ensue? See, as much as we don't like the police, we've come to depend on them. It's a narcissistic, toxic relationship.
it is, it is, it is.
It is.
But unfortunately, though, but you have more and more, people in the country who are starting not to call them, who are starting, because when you do call them, we're calling you for help, and you end up hurting. So
Right.
So what do? And I'm listening. I'm looking at what Lloyd's doing. Whatever. Dredge, would you like to invite our old host up? Right.
Absolutely.
So I'm putting this in here, and
Yeah. Come on, Lloyd. Let's hear
so
what you got to
Lloyd, if
say.
you want to come up here, and also I'm gonna be bold, because I know the people on this panel, they're pretty cool, and everyone would behave themselves. So if anybody else wants to pop up, we have room for one more person. If Lloyd, you want to come up, Marlon, Sabrina, Alicia, Frankie, I understand your situation, and I always appreciate your support. So anybody, but while we're waiting for them to decide, and yes, you will be on camera. So I'm sorry, I'm quickly listening. Okay, not a problem. So Marlon, if you would like to pop up, you're welcome. But but it is toxic. We do rely on them, but is there anything that we can do within our own neighborhoods where, if there's a domestic violence thing happening to the neighbors across the street, can we have some type of, block club or something where, yeah, we are, I understand that, somebody could pull out a gun. I mean, anything where we can just go over and say, hey man, we don't want to call the cops. We don't want to call the cops. Or lady, you beating your children, whatever. We don't want to have to call the cops. What can we do? Because if we call the cops, it's going to go to a whole different level. So with something like that happen, if people knew that we got your back, we want to help you. We got your back, but you got to help us too. You got to stop doing the stuff that you're doing. Would that help?
It would, but I said we wasn't going to talk about this on the air.
I mean, if it's with mental health and police reform and all the other stuff that I threw out there.
understand, but okay, you just said, is there a way for us to police our own neighborhood? We take the damn dreaded brick
Uh-oh, we must say did something with Lloyd, because now he says, give me a second. I guess we opened up that door. So anyway,
we take
go
the
ahead.
dreaded brick incident.
Yeah.
And what was everyone saying? No one wants to get involved because they don't want to lose their lives or get hurt.
Right.
So, again, it's like that toxic narcissistic relationship.
Okay. What about this? Remember the young lady? And I don't know her name, and shame on me for not knowing her name. About a year and a half ago, the young lady who they think called the police because these girls were harassing her. She was a teenager, so she was 16 years old. I want to say her name was Sandra or something, and she ended up pulling a knife on one of the girls who were harassing her, and the police officer was there, and the police officer she shot her. Okay, so is that something that the neighborhood could have dealt with? Is that something that, I mean, the girl had a knife, whatever, but is it something where it could have been where guys, you need to stop talking about her, or you need to go back in the house, you need to do this? I mean, this is getting, way out of hand, because the next time this happens, can they go back and say, well, you remember what happened to that other girl that got shot? You want us to call the cops? And as soon as the cops come out here, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to shoot first, and they're going to ask questions later. So that's what I'm saying. Can the community do something before?
You have certain people in the community that are willing to do something, like myself. I have a terrible habit of always trying to help. I can recognize mental illness. So if I see someone going off the deep end, I know how, hey buddy, come here. Let's have a talk. What's going on? And if I see them getting the wreck, don't come near me. Okay. Hey, listen, we're just talking. What's going on? What's wrong? Let's talk. I know how to talk to him. I know not to patronize him or be condescending, but I know that if he's erratic and he's anxious, condescending, but I know how to move with him. I'm not going to want to call the police because I know that they're not apt to deal with him. But I also know that if I call it EMTs, certain places, law enforcement is coming anyway. Especially if they hear that he's dangerous and erratic. Law enforcement is coming anyway. What's up, Lloyd?
Well, Lloyd, we must have pushed some buttons, because all of a sudden he's not, at the stove anymore. He's over here. So, welcome.
I turned down the Dutch oven real quick.
Welcome.
Over here. How y'all two doing right now?
Good, Lloyd.
So I see what y'all talking about, but I guess I wanted to clarify exactly what I was talking about. What I was saying is, I don't know if you remember, I think it was about 3 months ago, I interviewed for a position, and the position was working with the Center for Healthcare Services here in San Antonio, and it was the mental health division, where basically for 12 hours of my shift, I would sit in a car, I guess it was like right next to a cop car, and we were the ones who responded to the mental health situations. So if they got a call and they knew it was mental health, we would go out there with the police. Now, as you can see, I was the mental health professional. So we had I think they said 4 people rode in the vehicle. One was actual police officer, because they were there in case things got crazy, because I don't have no weapon, right? I was the mental health professional, so I'd be the one who would come and de-escalate and find out what's going on there. And there's 2 other, there's a medical personnel that was with us, just in case something serious happened where that person had to treat them. And I forget the last person. I think the last person was the driver or something. I don't really know the last person, but the whole thing is, I really liked it, because a lot of times we've been asking for people, and like you said, I don't think, and hear me out when I say that. I think anyone that goes to a police academy is beyond training to be a mental health professional. I think they've already been indoctrinated into being open enemies of the Black community. I'll say that again. Yeah, the police officer, you are open enemies of the Black community. ACAB, I don't like any of you. All of you guys are bastards and suckers, and you guys are scared. Y'all sit there with that badge and that gun, and you guys have come after my community, plain and simple. So I think they are.
Okay. Would you say that for Black officers also?
Yeah, I say that too. I say that for them too, because if you look at what happens, Black officers try to be more into the crowd and try to be more uppity with the white officers by trying to be harder on Black officers, on Black people. There's this show that came on YouTube. I think it was called Black Cop. I forget what it's called, but it was about this Black cop who was out there doing he was doing some off the wall stuff to white people, right? But he also was being really hard black people, and he was telling black people. And in the movie, I kind of he was the type of cop that said when he hears the suspect is a black person, he would try and speed to get there before the white officers got there, and he would speed to get there because he was in his mind he wanted to get there because he wanted to shield. He wanted to get there and be hard on the black suspect to stop the white officers from actually killing the suspect. And so that was his mindset. Well, I don't think that's a good mindset to go out there and try and show that you could be harder on black people just to, you know, make sure white people are happy. You know what I'm saying? Your white officers are happy. That's not the way to go. I think policing is a I don't know. It's Dred had said earlier, if we were to take away all police officers today, would anarchy happen? You know, I think we have to renew the community contract with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And if a community comes together and says, hey, we want to do X, Y, Z, because there are, I think there's 3 communities now in the USA that have no police officers right now. So there's 3 of them. They have no police officers, and they're doing just fine on crime and everything. I forget where the communities are, but you could probably look it up. But there are places that abolished their entire police departments, and those places are actually doing very well. And so, because what they did, they renewed the community agreement on how we're going to do things. They look out for each other. They do things more communal now. And so, I think abolishing the police is a good step. But again, we have to renew the contract within the community to say, hey, y'all, we don't want no more police because we don't want this. But how are we going to govern ourselves? When we see something, we need whistleblowers. We need someone that says, hey, I see this going on. Hey, I see that going on. And then also what they did is they made sure that these communities had resources such as more recreation centers, more after school programs. They had all these different things so where people did not have the idle mind to go do something crazy. They made sure the community was educated. And another thing, everyone had jobs.
Well, wait, I mean, so okay, but you look at for mental illness. Again, what I said earlier was the community, your neighborhood. Try to de-escalate that first before you call the popo.
Well, I think mental illness. The reason why I say that because all right. I'm just gonna put it out there. We are underrepresented in the mental illness professions. Mm-hmm. We're underrepresented in the medical professions. So when I say that, so how can a black person have culture?
But not just black people. I'm talking about all mentally ill people.
Right, but hear what I'm saying. I'm speaking from protecting black people standpoint. But okay. even if you want to go look all mental ill personnel. I can say this because, you know, I have a mental health background. That's what I want to call it. A lot of even the person that helped me get on the mental health background, this dude wasn't in it for them. The dude was in it for the money. This dude knew how much he could make for being a mental health professional. I'm not trying to say that he wasn't trying to, you know, he didn't go to work and do his job, but this dude ain't had no heart about helping nobody mental health. He just knew that there was money in the profession. And that's the thing. There are people in mental health positions who know that there's money in the profession. There's a lot of people who work outside of what they really want to do because of the money. And when you look at mental health right now, you can make a lot of money if in the mental health profession right now.
He's absolutely right. If I can make more money as an EMT, I would leave my main job in a heartbeat because I like helping people. But the bottom line is, being an EMT I would still have to work a second job or break my back. If I could make the money as an EMT, helping people, what I really want to do, I would leave the job I've been at for 16 years in a heartbeat. Well, and that says a lot.
So what do you guys say that if there was someone with a mental episode right now, they were sitting in their car, they have something in their hand. You don't know if it's a weapon, if it's their phone, if it's a straw, whatever. You don't know what it is. Who should people call first? Like if you're coming out of the market and you see this person, they're just look crazy, whatever. Do you call the police first, or if you do call the police, should the police automatically bring someone with them who can talk to these people? Like you have a hostage person,
Yes.
you bring whatever. So why do we not have that more? Why do we not have more of that? That you're bringing someone along. If there's a hostage situation, you bring along the hostage person.
Right.
But for this, how come you don't have someone who can talk to a person who may be having a mental episode?
Remember, like I was saying, we have that set up here now. I don't know other people, but I know the job I interviewed for, I didn't end up getting. I don't know why. I think I didn't end up getting it because I was telling them about social justice and why this change is really great. Maybe in my interview, maybe I turned them off. Maybe because I was like ACAB anyway. I don't care if I'm riding with a cop, but I don't like them. I don't know what it was. But the whole thing is, I know that here in San Antonio, we have them. The region that I would have been in charge of is a very small. You're basically, your blocks are from here to all these other blocks.
Mm-hmm.
If anything happens there, when they call and they say, hey, it might be mental health, you write, basically we hear the radio, such as possible. Once they say that word possible mental health, we're riding with them. Now, if it was gunshots fired, we having a shootout, what? And don't take me unless you're gonna let me carry my stuff. But but if I'm in a car with people, they're not trying to take me there. But so I think yes, I think we do have one. It's not about money. We have a budget. There's a budget. Everyone could fit a mental health professional in their budget. All right. Also, the other mental health, now another one that they're trying to fill out the mental health professional in the police departments. Just like the military. At one point, military, it was very frowned down upon for you to have mental health things in the military. Very frowned upon. A lot of people didn't. Yeah, right. A lot of people don't talk about it.
You can't get into the military if you have a history of mental illness, and that includes. I'm telling you, you can't.
Of course not. No. What I mean mental health is, once you're in, I'm talking about you don't have any mental health problems. You made it through everything. I'm talking about now. We have. I think it was called. It's not called mental. Basically, Sergeant Major Chandler. He's really big time into it. He's a Sergeant Major of the Army. I don't know if he's still there anymore. I retired 5 years ago, but the old Sergeant Major Army really pushed about take care of yourself doing mental health. So what happened is, I know for a fact we were more encouraging people to go get that done, and make sure you go check out your mental health and go. We had a lot of people actually go and started going to mental health counseling. Guys in the military, it started being pushed. But when I first came in 1997, if you told them you had anything like that, man, you was blackballed. Think about it. If you went and said that if you had a hurt big toe and couldn't run 2 miles, you was blackballed. So what do you think if you told them, hey man, my mind. Yeah, you was
right.
It's just the way they treated you. It was like a black eye.
So what do you guys think? What Marlon says? If you call 911, who are you really calling?
Well,
that depends.
That's a good question. Good question.
Actually, it depends on the nature of your call. Mm-hmm. If you call 911 and say, I see a person standing on the edge of a bridge, he's getting ready to jump, they are going to send EMTs and law enforcement. If you have someone who is erratic, yelling at people are scared, he is a danger, they're going to send law enforcement.
Okay, so that's when you need to send the mental health people with law enforcement.
But also, law enforcement has to know, we're going to call EMTs, we're going to call the paramedics. Mm-hmm. This is not our bag. This man, okay, he is obviously having a mental episode. He is obviously having a psychological break. We don't need to antagonize him. We need to call the people who can deal with him.
Okay,
but
so
also it has to stop being a matter of pass the buck, because you have EMTs who will call law enforcement because, again, that's what we are trained to do. They tell us the minute your scene becomes unsafe, back away and call law enforcement.
Okay,
so personally, I'm not calling law enforcement if somebody's holding a weapon and they're waving it and I see there's no clip in there and he's hitting the trigger, okay, there's no bullets in there. So I don't need to call law enforcement. He's having a mental break. It all becomes about judgment.
Do you do you call law enforcement if this person has a hammer?
I'd rather not.
I mean, like this is what I'm saying. So a hammer as opposed to a gun, or they're waving a stick. And then I have another question. Why is it that law enforcement, again, you have that hammer and you have that stick. What if I'm standing on the Golden Gate Bridge and I'm about to jump? They would shoot me before they allow me to jump. So if I'm gonna kill myself anyway, why are you gonna kill me? Why don't you just let me jump? I mean, seriously.
No, would you like me to tell you a true story?
No, I mean, seriously, yeah.
No, I'm going to tell you a true story about an EMT who got sentenced to 3 years in prison for helping someone. Man jumped off of the Golden Gate Bridge, or a bridge. Jumped. He committed suicide. The EMT saved his life. Guess what? Said man sued EMT, got the money. The EMT went to jail for negligence. All of a sudden, this motherfucker got a reason to live. I shit you not.
All right. Okay.
They
So,
told us
but
this.
I'm saying, okay. I think I had heard something about that. I'm gonna go look that up.
No,
I think I had heard something
Over
about
in
that. But
America.
I'm saying, but once again, it's like if I have a gun, I'm sitting in my car. I have the gun like this. And I have a history of depression. You know, my life has just been bad. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, I am about to kill myself. I'm minding my own business. So my neighbor across the street done went and called the police. Or I'm trying to sit in my garage and inhale the fumes, whatever. But somebody done called the police. Why do the police are still going to take me by force?
Okay. See, and that's where training does need to come in. Because you know what? You know what we're trained as EMTs? Most of the time when someone is committing suicide, they don't want to hurt anyone but themselves. They trained us that if they're in a garage, look for a note. Because 9 times out of 10, they're going to let you know, hey, listen, the car is running. Cover your mouth because the fumes are in there. So again, this is where a little bit of training needs to come in, because let's just say it's not a gun. Your weapon is your car.
Well,
You
I have a
unplug
question.
the-
And it's going to sound very heartless when I say this. It will sound very heartless, but I got to throw this in here. There's friendly differences, right? I believe in self-governance. If you want to self-govern yourself up out of America, that's on you. I know it sounds harsh, and I know it can get. I mean, trust me, I understand there's a lot of bad things that's going on in the world. I understand, you know, there's people always in the worst situation. So I do not condone, nor do I encourage anyone to commit suicide when I say this. But what I mean is, you know, when a person makes it to that point, we all understand when a person announces suicidal thoughts, or they want someone to, you know, when a person announces suicide, or when they want an audience, what they really want is attention. They don't really want to commit suicide. A lot of them are lashing out for the attention, or
It's a cry for help.
Right. They're really are crying for help. But other people who, you know, never had that cry for help, that did on their own. I mean, I believe in self-governance. That person don't want to tell nobody what's going on with them. They don't want to do that. That's on them. You know, that's on them. I mean, I'm sorry they did it, but you know, but the the ones that are crying for help, I think we should try and help them out as much as we can. So no, I do not condone it. But when I say self-governance, it's just, if you know, when a person's on that bridge, and you give them what they want, hey, we want to give you this help, we want to do this for you, and that person still wants to jump, and that EMT, like I said, the EMT, man, like I said, it sucks that EMT got sued for helping that person out. But again, that's why I say I believe in that's why I say I believe in self-governance. If that person really did it because they wanted to do it, at that point, I can't help you out.
Let them do it.
Yeah. You want to escort yourself up out of there? Ain't no reason for anyone else, you know, anyone else getting in trouble. But The hammer comment. Someone said the hammer is a weapon. I do believe a hammer is a weapon, but also depending on the size of the person, you know what I'm saying, the intent of what the person. Because if a person came at me with, I'll tell you what happened to me the other day, right? Kid you not, I swear this happened. I usually go to this Denny's every morning.
Wait, I'm sorry. Denny's?
Yeah, I just get a coffee.
Trader.
No,
Tommy, don't start.
Okay, I'm
Don't
sorry. Focus.
start.
Okay, focus.
Look,
Focus.
I know, but look,
That's
it's
a
the
whole nother
closest place.
show.
It's the closest place to my job, and I go and they treat me great. I just go there for coffee. So in fact, they give me free coffee every morning now because I went there for so long. They just come in and they're like, "We got your coffee, don't even pay for it." So I was sitting in the parking lot at Denny's, and I also go to that parking lot at lunchtime. At lunchtime, I go there and I just chill with the manager and everybody there. Great guy, you know, he has a nice little vet. And so what happens is I'm sitting there the other day, and I believe I was drinking a Calypso in the parking lot. And this guy, there's this hotel outside of Denny's, and in this hotel, this guy comes out of the hotel, and he said, "What'd you say to me? What'd you say to me? N-word?" But not, this is a light-skinned black dude. "No, I'll do this to you, N-word, blah, blah, blah." And I'm sitting here like this. And he come walking toward me from the hotel, and his friend came and grabbed him. And he said, "No, he said something to me." And he threw his friend off him, and he ran up, and he stopped, and dude pulled out a knife. Long knife. And I'm sitting here like, and I'm sitting here like, man, all I got is this Calypso bottle. How am I gonna make it out of this one, right? So as he's coming up, and his friend comes to get, so yeah, you ain't gonna say it now. I'm sitting like, I don't know, you know. I said, "Bro, I don't know what you're talking about." That's all I said to him. Friend took him back. They're in this car. Then this dude gonna try and jump out the car window to come get me, and you can tell the dude is on something. So I had all my firearms at Greg's house at a Yellow Bull. I called him. I said, "I'm gonna need my firearms back to the people in these streets acting crazy." And he started laughing, right? So me, the type of person I am, I go right back to the scene of the crime the next day. But this time I have 4-5 with me.
Back to the Denny's.
Yeah. So now I'm sitting in the parking lot, and the guy come out, and I'm just like, let me see what the guy says this time. This time he don't say nothing. He probably down off whatever drug he was on, and he comes out and he just does his little thing and he walks, and I see him looking at me, and the manager and everybody's like, "Man, I wonder if the guy got crazy today." I said, "He ain't got crazy today because I'm gonna pop this trunk and I'm gonna make sure he never pull a knife on me again." So, but that's true story. True story. That really did happen. And I don't know why I went back looking for trouble, but I just, you know, for me, I was just like, man, dude had a big old
But
knife.
imagine how it would have escalated had you called the police.
Yes, and it would have. But that's like so Sabrina just said. That's the thing. There are so many situations that are different. So it had to have a set. So you have to have a set standard of the right thing to do that works well for everyone.
Yeah, well, well, my right thing to do is to rectify, make sure I'm protected next time. So, and I mean, yeah, it sucks, but yeah, I was in my mind. And maybe it's just my mindset. Maybe I was like, man, I wish it would this time. Maybe that's just my mindset. I don't know. But you know, I'm glad nothing happened. I'm glad nothing continues to happen. But it just, to me, I think that we all need to protect ourselves in a way. But we need to. I definitely think, like I said earlier, we need to renew our agreement, our contract with society. And if we renew our contract with society and actually come up with how we're gonna act toward each other, you know, I think once we renew that contract, we will stop having bricks in the side of the faces. Like I said, by that sorry, and I'm gonna say, that sorry ass dude that did that, and I'm sorry man that sat back and let it happen. Every single one of them in that situation is sorry, and I hope they one day hear this too. All y'all, and the guy that's making videos talking about I was there, and y'all, yeah, you sorry too. And I'm gonna go on and say your mama's sorry, your dad is sorry for not teaching you better either. Because yeah, anyone who allowed that to happen to her and gonna sit there and talk about, well, what did she do this and that? Yeah, you all sorry. Your mama's is sorry, your daddy is sorry, and everybody you ever known that was a authority figure that never taught you right. All y'all sorry. And I hope your ancestors and generations are rolling over and calling you a disgrace, because that's some bull crap for any grown man to pick up a brick and hit someone in the side of the head just because they don't want to give you a number? What happened?
Yeah.
What happened to go shoot your shot somewhere else?
Yeah.
My goodness.
Well, guys, we are coming up to that 1:15 mark. But I am going to say this
I gotta go.
to. I'm going to say
Lloyd, always
this.
a pleasure.
Hey, yeah, let me sign out real quick. Thank you for having me, Solid. I appreciate y'all. Hey, y'all two doing it big. Y'all keep it going. Thank y'all
Thank you,
for
Lloyd.
inviting me up. Y'all take
You
care.
are always welcome. So,
I trust you. Trust me. I will drop in more. Y'all take care.
peace.
Bye, sisters.
All right. So, okay. So, I tried to focus on this and stay focused. Next week we are having, we have two guests, Michael Key and Drew Weaver, how and why racism flourishes from generation to generation.
Ooh-wee.
And these two guests are completely different. They're completely different, but I think the two of them will click on a lot of things. But we're on the 23rd. We had a topic, but since I have a hard time staying focused, Dre, I'm going to ask you right now in front of everybody. Can
What's
we
that?
do an open discussion show? Because
Absolutely.
yeah, so let's do open discussion because sometimes I need to go there, and I know sometimes you want to go there with me, but you try to be the person who's keeping everybody
I
on
do.
track. On
I
track.
do, but
So-
before we go, for anybody watching this, mental illness is a thing.
It is.
If you or anyone you know is suffering from mental illness, suicide, please call 1-844-386-4524.
Wait, hold
Dial
on. Let me wait. Hold on. Let me have that again.
1-844
Mm-hmm.
386-4524,
And
or
what?
from your phone.
This is a
That's
suicide.
that's the mental health hotline.
Okay.
Or you can dial 988 from your phone if you are in a mental health crisis. Please call 1-800-273-TALK. Talk. Please talk to someone. The world is a bigger and brighter place with you in it, and that voice in your head is a liar. The world is not better off without you. Please talk to someone. Talk to someone before someone has to talk over your funeral. No one wants that, okay?
But at the same time, to the law enforcement officers out there, where there are many, you guys need to check yourselves. You guys need to really, assess the situation. And I understand that you guys are in the line of fire. I understand that, but a situation does not have to go from here to here. You all are able to take it from here to here, if you want to. So, the onus also goes on law enforcement and to those families out there and friends. Before you call law enforcement, is there something that you can do to take care of the situation on your own so that everybody comes home safe, whatever? So,
we want to thank you all for joining us on this Saturday. This was an excellent discussion, and we love each and every one of you.
well, Marlon is really throwing you some love. So I'm just out here. Marlon is this is his second shout out to you. So shout out to you. So Marlon is showing you love.
Shout out to my co-host, Solid Blue. I wouldn't be here without her. I appreciate her.
So, but y'all, seriously though, thank you for giving me up your Saturday. And until next Saturday, peace.
Peace, love, and blessings. Stay out of your heads.
Bye, everyone.